All right, in this video, we're going to look at two of the more common ball flights that I see, and just again try to utilize the numbers on the TrackMan to sort of paint a picture um, for everyone, just to kind of see, are there similarities in these shots? How can we start to diagnose our ball flight if it's something we really want to change, or if it's something we just want to tighten up? So basically, we're not going to really look at um, these numbers up here in terms of sort of how the club's moving vertically and all those numbers, but we're going to look at these horizontal numbers. So the first one, we'll start off with the fade, or the left to right ball flight for a right-handed golfer. And what I'll show everybody is there's a gray line here, which is going to represent our target line. The blue line is always going to represent club path, and the red line is going to represent our face angle. So what you can see in this shot is, if we don't even really look at the numbers per se, just understanding that we have a club path that's moving. It says minus 5.2 degrees out to in. So anytime we see a pattern moving left or down, that's going to be represented as negative. Anything that's moving to the right and up is going to be at a positive. Now, TrackMan has added features here like out to in to out, closed, right. So we don't really have to, decipher too much about what is going on based off the minus and the positive, but more or less for information. So in this fade pattern here, we have the club head traveling 5 degrees kind of out to in across the target, with a face angle being 1 degree pointing left of the target. So basically what that shows us is that we have the face to the path is open 4 degrees. Now I'll go over that again, because for some, I may have been speaking another language there. So I'll go over it again. So we basically have the path moving across the golf ball with the face pointing to the left, but it is more open to the target. So you get that, if you think about it in sort of tennis, a drop shot, a slice shot, whatever you want to call it, you have this kind of, for lack of a better term, slicing action against the golf ball. And it's going to create a spin for a right-handed golfer to the right, a left-handed golfer to the left. And conversely, when you look down at the bottom, if we're using tennis references again, we'll look at this as being more of the top spin, where you have the club now moving 5 degrees into out, or out to the right for this right-handed golfer, with a face angle pointed 2 degrees to the right. So a difference there of 3 degrees closed. You get that sort of top spin, volley shot in tennis. So it's more, this is our draw shot. So really right now, I think the basics to kind of pull out of this is that for most golfers, the club path stays relatively consistent within a few degrees. So if we have a pattern that's sort of built in, whether it be a little bit of an over the top or a little bit into out draw, that pattern is pretty built in. The only difference that we'll start seeing in ball flight is the relationship to the face. Whether the face gets more open or more closed is going to determine where that ball flight starts and then ultimately curves. Another good rule here is that with an iron, and you'll notice when you start getting into more of your lofted irons, this may not be the case, but for an iron, about 85% of your initial start direction, or left or right of the target, is based on the club face. So even though, the path may be going out one direction, wherever that face is pointing, that's where that ball is going to start. When you get into a driver or a putter, when there's less loft, that start line is, goes up to 95% dependent on that face angle. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, when you start having, a sand wedge or a lob wedge, you're not going to see too much loft influencing the start direction. That will be more of our swing path because, from most of our experiences, you can't really hook or fade, sand wedges too much just because of the loft. So this is going to be just basically an understanding here. Now, what I would love for everybody to sort of, picture is what is their shot shape? What do they need to see? I often ask this if you've taken a lesson with me. If I had to, bet you $1 million, you had to tell me before you hit it what shot shape you were going to hit. Most people understand that even if it's a ball flight or a shot that they don't really like or they're hoping to change, they know, deep down for $1 million what that shot shape is going to be. So what I would hope for everybody to do, and this will be great when we get back in with the TrackMan, is understand, what are your tendencies, understand what your club path is, what your face tendencies are, how those differ, and really devise a plan to either help make some changes, whether it's, I want to hit a draw because I usually hit a fade, whether it's I always hit a fade, but I don't want to overfade it, things like that, where we can use these tools, not necessarily to, achieve perfectly straight ball flight, but just manage what we already can do fairly consistently. Um, and if you're watching this video and you think, I've heard this many times, well, wouldn't it be perfect if I just swung the club on zero plane or perfectly square to the target line in relation to the plane, and my face was, square to that too? That would be, one way to hit a straight shot. But if I kind of devise this, and if we look at our club path being perfectly square here, if that club face is anything but square, that ball is now going to start offline and actually curve offline. So if we presented a zero club path, but then our face was, say 2 degrees to the right, that ball would now start to the right of the target. But since it's more open to the path, it would actually fade more. So be very careful when you're thinking about trying to build this optimal, zero swing path or zero face angle, because it's going to require lots of time and lots of skill to replicate this on a consistent basis.